everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something I absolutely love talking about, the 100 rupee lesson. It's this fundamental mindset shift that completely transforms how we build wealth. And honestly, it doesn't even matter what your income level is. We spend so much of our time obsessing over how to make more money, right? But the real secret to financial peace, it almost always lies in a much simpler but incredibly powerful lesson about how we manage what we already have. To really wrap our heads around this, let's talk about a guy named Ali. So, Ali was 22 years old, and he had just landed his first real job. Every single month, he got his salary, but by the end of the month, his bank account was practically sitting at zero. He constantly found himself looking at his balance and asking, where on earth did all my money go? It's this incredibly frustrating cycle, and let's be real, so many of us have been exactly where he was. Well, one evening, Ali was chatting with his elderly shopkeeper, who picked up on his frustration. And this shopkeeper shared a simple yet absolutely profound piece of advice. It brilliantly highlights two totally different ways to approach your paycheck. See, there's the trap most people fall into, spending on your day-to-day life and just kind of hoping to save whatever is left over. And then there's the shopkeeper's method. The shopkeeper looked at him and said, "Don't spend what's left after saving. Save first, then spend what's left." This right here is what financial experts call the pay yourself first philosophy. Because as our sources point out, most people only save what's left at the bottom of the barrel at the end of the month. And the problem? Usually, there's nothing left. By flipping that order, you make saving a non-negotiable priority. That is literally the core foundation for breaking out of the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. The 50-30-20 budgeting rule. Now, a philosophy is a great start, but it's really just an idea until you have a system, right? So to actually implement this mindset, the shopkeeper introduced Ali to a super practical framework. It's a highly recommended strategy for organizing your net income so that every single dollar gets a specific, balanced purpose before you even get the chance to spend it impulsively. The beauty of this rule is how perfectly it balances your life. Think of it like a pie. 50% of your income goes to your absolute needs, things like rent, food, and keeping the lights on. 30% goes to your wants, eating out, shopping, catching a movie. And that crucial 20%, that is saved and invested for your future. Now, I'm not gonna lie, at first this wasn't easy for Ali. He had to say no to some unnecessary purchases and dial back his expensive habits. But by sticking to those percentages, month after month, he watched his savings actually grow for the very first time. Of course, personal finance is, well, personal. If the 50-30-20 rule feels a little too broad for you, there are other ways to build that discipline. Take the cash envelope method, for example. You figure out your spending averages, and you literally put physical cash into envelopes labeled for groceries, gas, and dining. And the strict rule? No borrowing from other envelopes. If the dining out envelope is empty, guess what? You're cooking at home. Alternatively, there's zero-based budgeting. That's where you assign every single dollar of your income a job ahead of time, making sure your monthly balance hits exactly zero with absolutely nothing unaccounted for. Preparing for the unexpected. Because once you actually have a budget, you have to protect it. Life is absolutely going to throw curveballs your way. A flat tire, a surprise medical bill, maybe even a sudden job loss. If you aren't prepared for the unexpected, these shocks will completely derail your progress and probably force you into some really nasty high-interest debt. So the absolute must-do here is establishing an emergency fund. Experts, including the economists at the Federal Reserve, highly recommend building up 3 to 6 months of living expenses. But notice I said essential expenses. We're talking rent, groceries, medicine, not your 5 different streaming subscriptions or your takeout budget. This money needs to sit in a safe, accessible place, like a high-yield savings account. You want it liquid, but, not so easy to access that you're tempted to blow it on a spontaneous weekend trip. Vanguard's Financial Wellness Guide actually highlights just how immediate this need is. Before you even stress about hitting that big 3 to 6 month goal, their first target is just to get a $2,000 cash buffer for those common, everyday spending shocks. Why $2,000? Because the data shows that without this buffer, people are way more likely to rely on payday loans or just let credit card balances roll over. And falling into high interest debt, that completely undoes all the hard work you just put into your budget. Putting your money on autopilot. Look, willpower is a totally finite resource. Ali didn't maintain his discipline for an entire year just by trying really, really hard every single day. No way. He did it by removing human error entirely. If you want to reclaim your peace of mind and stop stressing over spreadsheets every night, automation is your best friend. Here are some super simple set and forget strategies you can use right now. First, set up a standing order to transfer a percentage of your paycheck, maybe 10 or 20%, directly into savings the exact day you get paid. You won't even miss it. Next, try out apps that round up your digital purchases to the nearest dollar and invest that spare change. Also, make sure you set up direct debits for your fixed bills. That way you literally never miss a payment or get hit with a silly late fee. And finally, look into robo-advisors for your investing. They continuously rebalance your portfolio and reinvest your profits while you're busy living your life. Daily habits for financial success. Okay, so while automation is doing all the heavy lifting in the background, you can actually speed up your progress with some simple micro habits in your day-to-day life. One of the coolest strategies from our sources is committing to no-spend days. This is basically a financial and mental reset. For 24 hours, you challenge yourself to avoid all non-essential purchases. It stops impulse buying in its tracks, it forces you to actually eat the food sitting in your pantry, and it really helps you spot what triggers your emotional spending. In the math on this, it is genuinely staggering. Let's say you commit to just one no-spend day a week, and you avoid spending an average of $25 on, say, takeout or a random Amazon purchase. That is $100 a month. Over a year, that's $1,200 saved, and you didn't even have to ask for a raise. Push that to 2 days a week, and you are creeping up on $2,000 extra a year. You can take all that unspent cash and drop it straight into those automated investment accounts, or use it to finally crush that high-interest debt. Which brings us right back to our guy, Ali. A year later, while a lot of his friends were scrambling and borrowing money just to handle basic emergencies, Ali was totally fine. He had a fully funded emergency fund, he was investing regularly, he stayed out of debt, and for the first time, he actually felt in control of his money. And the biggest lesson here? It wasn't that he somehow started earning double his salary. It was that he learned how to manage the money he already had. Remember, wealth isn't built just by how much you earn. It is built by how wisely you manage what you earn. So start today. What will your future self thank you for? Seriously, I want to leave you with a thought. Look at your own accounts right after this. Can you set up just one automated savings transfer today? Could you try just one no-spend day this week? By taking control, setting a budget, and automating your success, you're literally building your future. It's your move.